Now let's speak to Farzana Kochai. She's an Afghan member of parliament and a women's rights activist. You have decided to stay in Afghanistan. Please tell us why.
Thank you for having me. You know, when I just realized the Taliban entered the Kabul, and then I just realized that the President Ghani left all of us beyond, and we have no one here, and that broke my heart too much. And before that, I just decided to be here. That I had a feeling, and I have still a feeling of responsibility and obligation about my people, about women in Afghanistan. I just thought that this should be, someone should be here, like not just one person. So like we need some people here to speak up about what's going on, and it's not always about just safe and securing yourself. Yes, you know, because we have so many things back in our country, like our families, our friends, our relatives, our colleagues, and all of them. We can't just take all of them out of the country immediately. So we have to stay and be a voice and a moral for all those women, millions of women who can't leave the country, and those who need a moral here and a support of moral support in order that they are not like being killed, and at least, or it's not something happening that everyone should leave the country. Here we can't leave 35 million people. Where to go? Who will stay here then? And then just for this to be a voice for the voiceless in the dark time that we need some people the most than other time, more than other time.
You mentioned your fellow Afghans. Well, Afghanistan has a very young population. 2/3 of Afghans are under the age of 20. This generation did not grow up under the Taliban and were exposed to ideas and used to democracy and free speech. Will they stand up? Will that generation, your generation, stand up for these values against the Taliban?
Yes, thank you. The two-thirds of generation people in the country just grow up alongside with the growth of democracy in Afghanistan, with all the values and all the good things that the democracy regime can offer to the people. While we had some problems and challenges too, and because of that we are now in this situation, but still we were hopeful and we were trying to make it better day by day. So when it comes to just sending back all of these young people, this generation, to back 20 years or according to the world situation, sending them to the first century of where people were living without a government, without a right and everything else. So it won't be possible. There will be resistance. There will be combating that. There would be people who won't tolerate that, and there would be people who have a feeling yet to the country and the people, and they won't just leave everything by leaving the country. They will fight from outside, from inside, from everywhere. So here, in these days, as I'm facing everyone, even the leaders, I'm not calling them my leaders, but some people are calling them their leaders. So all of them just left that behind. Like we have no one in here as a person who can talk on behalf of us. But Mr. Karzai and Mr. Abdullah that we have, and talking now with the Taliban. So in this situation, like why they were afraid? Why the Germans are now talking to the Taliban in Doha? Because they are afraid of their personal, that something happened to them. Why the youth are talking to them? Why everyone in the world and the leaders, the elders, the warlords, everyone that has been in Afghanistan with a power, all of them just going out and without any resistance. But this won't be forever. Time will come everyone will come back with some potential and with some capacity to fight the Taliban. But for now, everyone is trying to save and secure themselves and their family and their group, and just choosing to be silent. But in my opinion, we need to speak up at this moment, exactly where the ruling of the Taliban is not started. We need more voices, more people, more advocate to advocate for advocacy, to do advocacy for the people of Afghanistan, for the future of Afghanistan. So here we can send all these millions of people to another country, and we are not capable of accepting sending them back to the
Farzana,
previous
allow me
years.
to interrupt you, please. I'm very sorry to interrupt you, but you mentioned the talks in Doha and the German government is talking to the Taliban at the moment. Do you think dialogue with the Taliban should stop altogether?
At this point, no. At this point, no, exactly. As you know, the Taliban are in control of all Afghanistan. We missed the chances, we missed the places, we missed the steps that should be taken, and we didn't, along with together with the leaders, with decision makers, with those who are in charge and somehow responsible for the things going on in Afghanistan. We just missed that, and now the Taliban are in control of everything in Afghanistan. At this point, the talking to them would be a hope at least for us, that maybe it have an effect while we are living in being lost and disappointed. But still, for the future of our country, we can't just we have some hopes too that if it works.
Okay. Under the old Taliban regime, you, as a female member of parliament, would have been a target. How fearful are you about the future of women and girls in your country?
I can't have a clear image to talk about in this regard. I don't have a clear understanding that what will be happening. I don't know what will happen when the US and allies just leave, by the end of August. What will happen here? Who would be responsible? There would be anyone to hear the voice? And even if they hear, would be there anyone to react? No, at all. I'm disappointed. I'm sorry, but we have been through so much disappointment. And this, about the future of Afghan women, I don't have a clear image, while we have some announcements, some press conference from the Taliban side. But we are hearing something else on the ground as we are living here, hearing. Of course, in these days, the things seems normal, but it can't be like this. This is a situation that Taliban just ordered their fighters to do nothing with anything. If we keep everything on their...
Farzana Kochai there, I'm afraid we have to leave it here. An Afghan member of parliament and a women's rights activist, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Now, Germany's Interior Minister Horst Seehofer was asked how many refugees will now come to Germany as a consequence of the Taliban victory in Afghanistan. Let's take a listen to what he said.
There is no prediction. And I've explained to all parties in the Bundestag why no one can make such a prediction right now. That's because at the moment there are published assessments, estimations and much more that, as far as I know, range from a few thousand to a few million.
For more on that, we can now speak to the migration expert Gerald Knaus. Mr. Knaus, is Seehofer right?
Well, it depends which part of his statement you refer to. If we refer to his first sentence, that there can be no serious predictions, well, that is certainly right. We don't know what will happen next. But if you refer to the indication that potentially perhaps there might be 5 million refugees, then we need to look closer at the reality on the ground. We don't know the future, but what we know is that a lot of things have changed in recent years at the borders surrounding Afghanistan, certainly the borders leading towards the European Union. In 2015, millions of Syrians could go visa-free to Turkey with their families. The border was open. Turkey welcomed them. And then some of them were already at the border of the EU. Today, this is no longer the case. The difficulty now is getting out at all. So to throw these big numbers into the debate, I think, is politically dangerous and factually not very useful, because at the moment, around the world, very few refugees manage to cross borders. That's the real problem.
So Seehofer also said that most refugees should be taken care of in the country, in Afghanistan itself. How realistic is that?
I think what he meant, and what a lot of other people in his party have said, is that we should help the neighboring countries. So if Afghans have to flee and they go to Pakistan or Iran, well, let's help these countries and then they can stay there. Now, let's admit it's obviously a good idea to help countries of first reception. That is what the UN Global Compact for Refugees says. But let's also say that it's not very credible for Europe, for rich countries, to send a message to poor neighbors to say, listen, you keep your borders open, but we will not take people, including the many hundreds of thousands who've been helping us or who worked with us during our intervention. So I think what we need to be looking at is something as existed for the Vietnamese boat people in 1979. There was a UN conference in Geneva where a coalition of countries said to the neighbors of Vietnam, we are prepared to also resettle people from Malaysia and Indonesia, but please keep your doors open. And this kind of approach of supporting neighboring countries, but also offering some resettlement, which worked before, when the world was much smaller and much poorer, hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese were resettled. So this is a model. We shouldn't look to 2015. We should look to 1979.